Hello and welcome. Yes, it's a very beautiful day that we bring you our usual production, Pertinent questions. Today, we have in the studio a man who has seen it all in terms of power, not power shift, but electricity supply in our country. In the last couple of weeks, months, and years, if I would not be exaggerating, the collapse of the nation's national grid, I'm talking of electricity, has become very embarrassing, very frustrating, as you may want. In the last 10 months or 11 months of this outgoing year, power has collapsed repeatedly and repeatedly to an extent that I have almost equated with it with the Abiku syndrome of coming and going repeatedly, as Professor Soyinka put it in one of his earlier uh, works. The thing is so worrisome that I have brought into the studio for this conversation a man who knows it, who has been part of it, who was with it. He's a retiree, but I do know that amongst the several metamorphoses that electricity uh, namings have come out with in Nigeria, beginning from ECN to NEPA to Power Holding. If he was not part of them, he has read about them because he retired as the general manager, uh, transition transmission company of Nigeria TCN. I speak of no other person than the man who is sitting before me in the studio now, Engineer NIYI OLADELE.
Thank you.
Engineer OLADELE, you are most welcome.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do?
Thank you for having me, sir.
Yeah. You are an individual, a Nigerian. The challenges our electricity power supply system is undergoing, does it worry you? Does it disturb you? Even though you were an insider, but today you are off the hook.
I'm still part of them.
Uh-huh.
As a retiree, I still claim former staff of TCN.
Uh-huh.
Naturally, if you are an engineer that you train in the power sector, you'll be worried about the similar issue that is affecting the power sector. Just like you are said in your intro, this regular and frequent collapse is not worrisome, and we are not too happy about it.
You are not too happy about it. Well, thank God for that. I want us to use this 45 minutes of our production as a kind of a seminar for the man or woman who is a viewer at home, okay? For them to learn one or two things. So, what is the national grid, if I must ask?
The national grid is nothing other than interconnection of the network from the producers to the consumer. In which case, some of us, what we believe about the so-called interconnection is from Kanji generating station that we are all used to, which is one of the Gencos today.
Yeah.
The interconnection of that network from Kanji through to the transmission onto the disco to your house or to the consumer premises is what we call grid network.
Grid.
Yes, network.
How come it collapses every now and then?
And the network is segmented into what I call voltage levels. Voltage is nothing other than what we see, even in the studio now.
Yeah.
You are, without voltage, you can't be talking. Without the voltage, you cannot have this light. Without the voltage, even this microphone will not work. All of them are all connected. At the generating station, in Nigeria today, most of them generate at about 11 kilovolts or 16 kilovolts. Mind you, I said, is the interconnection of the network into the consumer premises. From there, the thing is step up. And when it's given step up, you will be hearing about step up transformer or step up network. You'll be hearing it. It step up to about 132 or 330 kV. K is the voltage. From there, it comes down to 33. From there to 11 and 415. This grid that it is occurring frequently, it is classically the 330 kV network that we are referring to. The grid network tell us right from the generation onto that, and they are being carried by copper conductor. You will see them. If you step out of the studio now, or you go towards a place we call power line along Ikiri Road, you see that substation there.
Yes.
You see all these lattice structures carrying long conductor. Those are the grid that we talk about.
Yeah.
And anytime there's no supply on them, we call it collapse.
Why do these collapses? Why do they happen?
A lot of things.
Yes, I want to hear. I want to know about them.
One, if you see my intro, I said we have what we call generating company. I just mentioned Kanji. There is Jeba. They are all hydro stations. If you go down to the Benin area, you have the so-called Omotosho power station. Those ones, they are more of steam or gas. The former one I just mentioned, the Shiroro, Kanji, and Jeba, the hydro. Now going to the east, they are gas powered, which are mainly from the NFPC gas. Now, all this one contributes, and they are being carried by the huge current carrying conductors into every nooks and cranny of Nigeria. If anything should happen to any of those towers, which is the main problem we are having presently, you'll be hearing about vandalization. So when you have that kind of thing, you may have incident of collapse. That is one. Two, the power network, as we are discussing today, or the grid network, is bedeviled with aged equipment. If you have any unforeseen situation and you have any of the equipment having issue, say for example, somebody is driving and maybe a trailer, a driver, and recklessly drove into the power structure. You have the conductor being snapped. That is another thing we see. So when you have that kind of thing, will cause it. Then another thing is our network today is very weak. There is something we call N, capital N minus 1 criteria, which is essential for stability.
Capital N.
N, capital N minus 1. That is for everything you are having. Say in the studio, for example, assuming you have only one transformer here. If that transformer has fault, you may have collapse in this network. But if you are able to have a standby, maybe it could be your generator, or the case may be. So that criteria is made. It's like a family. When a family has one number of vehicles, it is assumed that you don't have vehicle. Because anytime that vehicle broke down, you must have something to rely on. So most of our network as of today, the N minus 1 criteria is not met, which is essential for stability.
Okay. If I got you, because this is a learning process.
Yes, sir.
The N should represent normal.
Yes, normal.
Minus 1. So already you are almost nowhere.
No, exactly. That is it.
Okay. Let's come a little home. We'll be going here and there. Of course, when I get there, I will have the question. You in one of your answers, you said something which I will draw your attention to again.
Okay, sir.
You were general manager here in Osogb.
I retired.
You retired. Yes. How do you call that place? Regional. Is it a regional center or what?
Yes.
Okay.
This regional center of the transmission network.
Okay. The regional center.
Yes. But then there is, if I can understand where you are going, here in Nigeria as of today, we have 10 of such regions.
Okay.
We call it all regional offices, headed by general manager. But in addition to that, we have what we call the National Control Center.
Okay.
Most often than not, people like me and you confuse this one.
Okay.
If we are going to Ikero, for example, now, the first place that we see this lattice structure, that one is part of Osogb region.
Okay.
The second one, which is second gate, that one is the National Control Center.
Okay.
So the two of them are interwoven. Why this one is mainly of maintenance, installations, and design. The other one is principally for operation of the grid network. I was just telling you about all the GENCOs. All the GENCOs contribute to the national grid. It is the National Control Center they do load dispatch.
Okay, so this center there in Osogb, here in Osogb, is a very, very
vital to the operation of TCN and the power sector in Nigeria.
Is it the only one?
For now, it is the only functional one.
Oh, functional one.
The other one in Shiroro is, they call it Supplementary National Control Center. As we are talking now, another one is coming up in Abuja.
Okay. Why Abuja? You can't answer that question. Okay.
For obvious reasons, you know.
Because you see, because we think.
Yes, for security, no doubt.
Yeah, you can still maintain security there. But I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but the founding fathers of electricity in Nigeria decided to put the control center in Osogb many years ago. That's correct. In the days of maybe ECN or NEPA.
Very correct.
That's about 50 years ago.
Yes. For a simple, obvious reason.
What was it?
That Osogb is central to the grid.
Okay.
So you have generation from Kanji then.
Okay.
Mainly Kanji. Then later on Jeba. You have generation from Saple.
Okay.
Then later on you have to from Lagos. So Osogb is central to the grid. Okay. So ideally, it is good for you to be in Osogb.
I was thinking that it is high time engineers like you decided that this regionalization must also be spread so that Osogb won't have too much load to carry. I mean, I'm speaking as a layman. I don't know whether it means something to you. If the power system, our federal government had established about 3 of these centers elsewhere, the weight that Osogb center alone will carry would have been minimized.
I just said that as of today, we have Osogb at the National Control Center. We have a supplementary one during Babangida, that is Shiroro. And we have one coming up now.
People criticize Babangida for putting it in Shiroro.
That is why it was supplementary that time. In actual fact, we were all civil servants then. So there's a little we can say. I'm aware that some thought went on before the night. Okay, let us call it supplementary National Control Center. You will recall that in the 80s, 88, 89, there was collapse. And some men of then defunct NEPA were jailed. That was the beginning of that issue to Shiroro. And that's about the time Shiroro was commissioned.
Yeah, given that, one would have thought that if these things are spread not necessarily in Abuja, you put one in even if it is what used to be Kongola, today is Adamawa and the other
Yobe.
Yeah, yes, you put them there. They can be feeding and feeding. I said I am not an engineer, but this is simple. It's not rocket science.
And that is what they are doing presently now. So we can say as of today there are 3.
But you told me the only functional one.
Why this one is only the functional one? This is where the grid is being dispatched.
Yeah, but yes,
this is where
the only functional. The others have collapsed.
In actual, no, if that is the interpretation, let me come back against that. The Osogb National Control Center is functional because the facility there, they are intact, even though they are being upgraded. The Abuja one is just coming up. The structure are just being put into place. For the Shiroro, Shiroro still layers to Osogb for the load dispatch. The beauty of having it 2 or 3 is anything can happen to the first one. Let this one be able to do it. And that is the original idea of the Osogb. Continue to maintain your National Control Center. Shiroro is supplementary National Control Center. But now that we are having Abuja coming up, which is more modern technology.
So at the end of the day, Abuja will not be enjoying power and becomes the problem again. Everything in Abuja is centered there, and then when it collapses, the people in the states begin to suffer.
No.
Anyway,
That is not correct. As at today in Nigeria now, the bulk load is in Lagos. Lagos carry almost 70 or more than.
That's where you generate your money from.
That's where the main money is coming from. So the dispatch that they do, or the load allocation they do in SEC, take premium of that and notice that whatever is coming into the grid, certain percentage must go to Lagos. So even in Abuja, they still do the same thing, because there's no need for you to say, okay, what is in Abuja? Abuja is just a federal capital territory. How many industries are there?
Nigerians hear of Gencos and discos.
Okay.
The days of music in the disco are gone. Else, the young men would have thought it is disco music. What are they? The Gencos, discos, and what have you?
That was the 2013-2012 reforms by Obasanjo. You just said it today. It was ECN in 1972. It translates to NEPA, National Electric Power Authority. By 2012-2013, that was the time Obasanjo said, let there be reform. And they now bring in a holding company that they call PHCN. It's just a holding company for them, which is Power Holding Company of Nigeria.
Which year was that?
2013-2012. That was the time. Now, about that time, the system was separated. Hitherto, it was one entity, one managing director, supply, oversees the whole network. All to just have is GM around. But the moment this one was with that act of parliament anyway, now you now have all the distribution company coming together to become disco. It's not as if they are the one dancing like when we are younger. And you have all the generating company coming together to become Gencos. The only one that is linked between them is the transmission. We are actually a retire. Now, all the Gencos that were formed there were 6, and they were headed by a single entity, MD. In the same way, the discos were 11, and each of them were headed by MD. So you can see that instead of one single MD for the whole power sector, you now have many MDs, and transmission too has one MD, because it's still a link between them. The
Gencos, do they still have the cluster of MDs?
Yes,
they have different
MDs. Yes. For example, now the so-called Osogb power station that we are very familiar with in Lagos, though they don't bear that name anyway. I think they are now Savannah. Just know that Lagos. Me and you are very familiar with Omotosho, for example. We wish we know that Adeleke manage. He is the chairman. So they have their own MD too. So same with the discos now. In the disco today now, here in the studio today and in Osun, we are lucky to be supplied by Ibadan Distribution Electric Company, which we call IBEDC. And they have their headquarters in Capital Building on the Ring Road in Ibadan. They are headed by one MD. We equally have Benin Electric for Ondo and Ekiti. One MD is in charge of that one. We have the so-called Kano. We have Kaduna. Lagos, we have 2 of them, Eko Electric and Ikeja Electric. So each of them has MD, and they are on their own, independent. So they all got their supply from the national grid.
I asked you this question because I'm afraid if the answer you will give me. When the Gencos were being created, Nigerians had the feeling that they were not properly, they were not handed over to people who were capable, and that's why we are still in this power mess.
That is very correct.
It's very correct.
Because Nigeria's situation is unfortunate. The union then fought against this. The government did not listen. As far as you are concerned, what do you want to? You want to see the paperwork? Here I am in Ibadan Electric. I must have technical partner. I must be able to get support from bank before I can sell it. And by the time the thing was sold, just like what the union said that time, the whole thing collapsed. all the technical partner was just a false thing.
Grapevine tells us that the powers that be sold these things.
So they are cronies.
Yes, not to people who had the capacity.
Yes, and that is why we are where we are today, especially in the discourse. A situation where you acquire a network, you are not improving on it. It is bad. Please mind you, the so-called power sector's infrastructures, as of today, is intensive, very expensive. There's none of those things that we produce in Nigeria. When you come to the disco, the only thing you can be thinking of today is electric pole or wooden poles. The so-called copper conductor, we don't have it. The transformer tank, we don't have it.
You mean we cannot produce?
We don't have company that does that.
Yeah. Okay. Continue.
So, and it is a massive infrastructure. Just like the studio now, most of the time I'm saying that you import there.
Yeah.
So for us, we have gone a little bit to sleep.
We have overslept.
More than that, there could be a way of bringing all these things. By now, we should be able to produce distributed transformer in Nigeria. As for the transmission generation, it's even a different ball game entirely. The so-called generation we are talking about, the generator transformer, where are they bringing them from? This is not what you can just took off the shelf. For us to get a generator transformer, for example, or transmission where it belongs, it will take you average of a year. You will design it, you send it to them. They will now construct. You go and inspect that it meets the specification. They now ship it in.
So it takes a long time.
A longer time. By now, we expect Nigeria to have planned it. The Ajaokuta Steel Olumi Company, is it functional? No. Even the one that we have in Osogb, like Osogb Steel Olumi, is it functional? No. All those ones, if we ever go to the transmission network and see the kind of metal we are discussing, you know what I'm talking about.
When can we get out of this kind of wood? Successive administrations keep on being silent. What is responsible?
It's unfortunate that Nigeria government must do something. If we want to be hove to, we must learn to put the right person at the right place. Like this here.
Will our politicians accept that, even in the National Assembly?
Why can't they do it? There are people we call technocrats in government.
Yes.
What is bad? Either you like it or not, there are some engineers too that are politicians. Let us take, for example, the Ministry of Works or the Federal Ministry of Works. When he was a former governor in Ebonyi State, we saw what he did in creation of a university, and we saw the road network. People like him who are politicians and technocrats could be brought in. I'm sorry to say, the power sector, if there must be a way, just like health, holistically, an electrical engineer should be the head.
But is it happening?
It's not. It's not. You can count the social government. When was the last time we have electrical engineer in the power sector? We are discussing power. We are not saying civil. Neither we are. If it's civil mechanical, a little bit understand. So that is the issue. Now you are bringing lawyer because you think you want to settle somebody, or you are bringing economists or accountant. Let us bring a technocrat, somebody who knows about it, and you see changes. Because here we are today. Now you just mention something that, how is it? The way I understand your question is not the same way somebody is a professional. We say, when you will say, okay, this is what happened. But a professional knows about it. Like people like myself who have served more than 32 years in the power sector, will be coming and telling me that, okay, your network is weak. Don't I know it is weak? I do.
God save this country.
Amen, my brother.
God save this country. We would sooner than later go on a short break.
Okay.
And come back. The momentum is gathering, and
God help Nigeria.
Yeah, God help Nigeria. Yes, let's complete the show. We will break it up and come back later to the studio, the control room. I think we can afford to break up the show right now, and we come back to it. Thank you very much. In the studio has been engineer NIYI OLADELE. He retired couple of years ago as the general manager, 2020, that's 4 years ago, general manager, Osogb region of the transmission company of Nigeria. We will be back to talk to him and to talk with him again.
Thank you.
Nigeria still has some breathtaking natural areas and national parks. These forests and wild places help maintain healthy ecosystems, clean rivers, rainfall, and even the oxygen we breathe. But if we allow our wildlife to be poached and our forests to be cut illegally, we may lose this forever. So let's do the right thing. Tell your families and friends not to buy illegal bushmeat or illegal timber from our protected forests. It's time to save our wildlife and forests in order to protect our natural heritage. Keep them wild, keep us safe.
There's no other animal as courageous and majestic as the lion. But with only 50 lions left in Nigeria, they may soon just be a memory. When snares are used for bushmeat, we rob the lions of their food and risk maiming them for life. So please, say no to illegal bushmeat and help protect the lions. Keep them wild and keep us safe.
Welcome back. Very much in the studio with me is Engineer Adeniyi OLADELE. Let me say Engineer NIYI OLADELE. He has raised very fundamental issues that continue to remind us of the need for our dear country to put the round pegs in round holes. We're back for the second, and the project resumes. Why has vandalization, engineer, why has it of power transmission facilities become so attractive?
Well,
to marauders, to...
there are two ways we can look at it. One, I just told you now that none of this infrastructure is being produced in Nigeria. So when you see somebody who's not well informed and you feel they want to make cheap money, you can see them disconnecting the lattice structure that carry the conductor. Some of them even went to the extent of even carrying it. Still, you can melt it and do a lot of things with it. All the lattice structure is still. That's the one aspect of it. People want to make money. Another dangerous trend is sabotage.
That's professional sabotaging. It is
Well,
they who know.
It may not be somebody who knows. It could be, like we say now. As of today, the government of the day is APC. Me and you know what is happening between APC and PDP. You can see the kind of talks that they engage themselves with. There's nothing to stop the opponent from sponsoring people who knows about it. So it may not, because this is massive. Imagine me as a retiree, how can I get sufficient money to do that? But somebody is wealthy and had it, like what is happening in the Northeast now, continuous vandalization of it is political. The one in the Southeast now, where you have them, the one going towards Port Harcourt and Bayelsa, I don't know if you hear about it, 132. They went ahead and fixed it, they went and vandalized it. So the vandalization is one. So economic risk because of people who are not informed, because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
The second one too is just, we don't want you to have say. I'm aware that the one that happened in Shiroro, soldiers has to be there physically to outrun them. Too bad.
So how long can we be keeping these soldiers? Is there any means that we can use maybe technology can save us
Of
on
course.
this. If technology, because it is not everything.
Drones. Drones could be used.
Why are we not using them?
In our days, we have helicopter patrolling line.
Okay.
When you have anything on the line, the helicopter are no more. It is really bad, my brother. It is really sorry, bad situation. No more helicopter. In those days now, you can deploy helicopter from Lagos, run through to the line to Benin, from Benin to Osogb, from Osogb to Jeba. They are no more existent. Drone could be used to see. And you will see all these people. But in Nigeria case, we know the solution that nobody will bet that. That's unfortunate.
I understand from my readings that currently there's only one line that is connecting the thermal stations in Sapele to Geli to Osogb.
That is very correct.
It's correct.
Yes. This is the N-1 criteria I discussed earlier on. As of today, only one physical line structure, 330 kV, connect all the thermal stations to Osogb, to thermal.
So if there is a break in that transmission,
yes,
the people in Ugeli and Co, or what happens?
If there's a break in that transmission, like we said, over there you're having 4 supply.
Okay.
That load will be rejected. And before you know it, it translates to other area. For example, here we are, say in the studio, maybe we have about 3 or 4 of us. We have 4 bread to share. And we can confidently take it to our cups and enjoy it. Suddenly, 2 of that bread were not there. Can the other 2 be okay for us?
No.
That is what is happening. So when you have that kind of situation, you have grid being collapsed. But assuming you have alternative, I'm aware that these days now, all the lines being constructed, minimally they are 2. You call it double circuit. But before now, it's only single circuit. Single circuit. Between Osogb and Jeba, you have 3 of them. But the new one, and they are all double. So that if something happens to this one can sustain. In the same way, the transformer now, we are now making case for redundancy. And mind you, the generating system is a little bit different. The beauty of the power sector, if I can call it that way, I don't want to use the word bad, is this energy cannot be stopped. As you are generating, you must use it.
Yes.
That is the bad thing about it.
I was coming to that.
Assuming we know that, we now know that, okay, definitely we have to protect all our infrastructure. There is no need for us to be waiting not to have drone on our line. It should be 24 hours patrol. So if you see anybody that's doing it, then you delegate people to arrest the situation.
One of the reasons we don't have enough power supply is that we don't have where to store them, isn't it?
They are not stored. You cannot store the electricity.
No, what I'm saying, we produce, okay, or distribute, whatever it is.
Scientifically and in engineering wise, what you are producing, you must use in electricity. The only one you can store is the so-called, we call them direct current, DC, like the solar. When you have your sun, you tap it to the solar panel. That's why you can store in a battery. So that later on the battery will now convert it. But when it comes to the alternating supply that me and you are used to, as you are doing it, you must use it. That is the principle of electricity.
But even what we have in store is not even enough for us to use.
That is it.
So you can't even store. I mean, you have not enough to eat. How can you
store in the first instance?
Well, there are several sources of power.
Oh, yes.
But Nigeria depends essentially on hydro. You just mentioned
and thermal steam.
You just mentioned. I didn't know much about the thermal you spoke of until you spoke about is it Ugeli and things like that.
That is now being sold to Elumelu. They are like commodity showcase. Is the Ugeli and the Sapele has the capacity to generate using steam. The same steam, that is, you boil water, superheated, and you use it to dry turbine. You can equally use gas.
Gas.
The only difference between is the turbine blade are different. So you paint the gas on the turbine blade as it's rolling. The principle of energy is very easy. You must find a rotating structure, which is called rotor. And as it's cutting across our stator, electricity is produced. Very simple. You can equally use water on that to rotate. Like we have a Kanji and a Shiroro. So we have a lot of sources of.
There is also wind.
Oh, there is wind. There is wind. That is the one that we would have expected the government to hinge onto in the north. You have the so-called, I just mentioned solar, sun, you have wind, you have hydro using water through a potential fall. That is for every hydro you must have a dam. So if people say dam, so there must be a dam. Like the so-called Kanji, the initial concept was Niger Dam Authority. It was later on that we can only generate with that one. So it could be used for irrigation purposes. A lot of things, but somewhere along there, some people just sleep, and it's really unfortunate.
If we have capacity for gas as a means of power, why do we keep on flaring?
It's part of the thing we are talking about. Government policy. Is it only for generation? What of our LPG for gas, domestic purpose? It is now we are waking up. So when we go to those the Niger Delta area, and you hear that we are flaring gas, you will just be wondering, what kind of country is this? What does it take us to use the technology to tap this gas for the benefit of generation, for the benefit of LPG and other things? Today,
we buy gas, cooking gas at 16,000 plus.
Yes.
If we had
25 kg, no, 12.5 kg.
If we had all these sources, I think it would be better for us. But again, it is in the box or in the space of the politician, because for 25 years now that we have been running civilian administration, that we keep on doing it the way the military did it is very unfortunate. Well, what are some of these challenges facing our inability to harness these resources?
It's so simple. Like we said, policy. Imagine yourself now, sir. The little I know about Mr. Smollett, you are a veteran in this industry. By way of contribution to the same, maybe your journalism and you are still very, very relevant.
Okay.
How many of us in the past sector are being used now? Every time we are turning out people.
Experienced one.
Bring these people, let them do some work. And that is one of the issues we're having. I've been to some studio. Rape is fine, no doubt. But then when you look at what is happening here, tap from the people like you. People coming can always learn from it. And that's one of the issues. Government policy is really not too good when it comes to that. I'm not trying to credit power sector. It is only in the power sector in Nigeria now you can see engineers working, especially in the transmission. See what happened. We used to have what they call Port Harcourt refinery. We used to have Kaduna refinery. We used to have Warri. We are day to day. But then we still have, no matter what, we still have this Osogb, which was commissioned in 1968, still functional. We still have Ikeja West in Lagos, which is still functional. We still have Jeba. No doubt the equipment I'm aware along the line there's what they call retrofitting, upgrading, but the level is damn too low. The level is nothing to talk about. For example, when I joined the system in 1988, I got to Osogb in 1991, we used to have 2 by 90 MVA transformer, 330 by 132 voltage. When you add that one, that is 90 plus 90 to make us 180. After today, I'm aware that a 300 MVA is being installed, not yet commissioned. By the time I was leaving 4.5 years ago, we have 150, 2 by 150 MVA transformer in that system Osogb. We have a 90 MVA in that Osogb. When you add the 150 plus 150, that is 300. 390 by the time I was leaving. And I'm equally aware that now a 300 MVA is coming. So to make it about 690, but it's taking too long. That one is still happening in the power sector, especially transmission. But there are nothing. For example, like I just mentioned the hydro. There was a time Gaius Obaseki,
when he was
Minister of Petroleum, was part of a board member of TCN. And he came and he was surprised to see what is happening in the power sector. But why must one is not saying you are looking for a job? Why are you keeping these people away? Why can't you tap from the experience? That is the issue.
It's the Nigerian problem.
Too bad
It's
for us.
Nigerian. But when can we grow or outgrow this question of this low, how do you call it, megawatts that we use? I mean, we never hardly do we exceed 4,000, 4,500.
You are very correct.
What can we do to exceed it so that power, I think the higher the
energy, the
better for us.
That is correct.
Why do we keep on oscillating between 2.5 and 4,000, while our counterparts in South Africa and co, they go so high up?
Because of that Nigeria factor that me and you are discussing. Now, let us face the southwest area of where we belong to. The only power generating system that we have in the southwest as of today is the one in Omotosho. Now, in the Omotosho, you have the one that was built during the Obasanjo regime when Agagu was the minister of power. And between the two of them, they put one in Omotosho and they put one in Osogb. I happen to be part of the commissioner. That much I know. Along the line, certain things were not done. Me and you know what we call when you are locating industry. There must be abundant raw material. We have just mentioned it. We have gas. If you go ahead and locate in Omotosho and you locate in Osogb, which is in Ogun State, are you not thinking of where the gas will be coming from? It's a very simple thing. You just get a gas line after supply. It wasn't at the onset. And that is why these days, where you are now supplying gas to Igbe, which was pre Omotosho and this day, the gas pressure might be low. You could have constructed a gas line at that time that can supply them. They still went ahead and said, okay, the Omotosho is strategically, let us equally what they call NIPP, the one that was sold to Adeleke. As of today, it is only Adeleke. I'm talking about Southwest, not that is building a generating station. Even him, he cried out some time ago, you journalists here, that the equipment he imported from abroad, you'll be wondering, who will be doing this one? Because it is to help us.
You see, I'll draw an analogy. The federal government in the 70s built pipelines like that.
Yes.
Supplying fuel. Today, tankers have taken over our street.
Thank you for that, sir. So you
when we were young,
because somebody wants his business, you want his business to thrive. But if I have trailer, why can't I? What of in those days used to be the railway? That is what we know that normally used to transport all those things. But now, we are producing. It's part of the displaced priority.
Yes.
We are producing petroleum in Warri. We are producing in Lagos. So, say Port Harcourt, which is very close to the source, nearest to the source. We now went ahead and create a refinery in Kaduna. We are now pumping crude from Port Harcourt and Warri.
Mileage, several kilometers.
There are better way of doing it. Generate this thing where these resources are there, then transfer them through railway. The rail line is there.
Time is of the essence, but this question I must ask you before we go. It's been some 3 or more years that the federal government took the matter of power generation from the exclusive list.
2023. Yes. Buhari started it.
Yes.
The Tinubu call it promulgate and that act again.
Now, why it's 3 years now? No, very few, if any at all. Why are our state governments afraid?
Tap into it.
Yes. That you can generate your own.
You can generate your. I'm aware that talking about Osun, for example, during the Benin regime, there was proposal for a hydro station somewhere in Eringisa. If we are going, that is the boundary of Ekiti and that proposal.
The waterfall.
Yes. So the government did not think about it. By now, we should be tapping from it. And like I just said, hydro implies you must have a little dam. There must be a fall. Here you have a natural fall. So why can't you tap little thing from it? Is one of the Nigerian factors. Now, the promulgation of the heart in the first instance, I will look at it from this way. When you are promulgating that kind of act, I wasn't part of them. There is need to have professional input. Drafting of bill is just not lawyers alone. Bring professionals into it. You said you are bringing exclusive. This is good. Let me and you participate in it. And when you participate, you have, and there are a lot of ways we can produce it. Like I said, biomass is there, wind is there, water is there, solar is there. How many solar genesis we are in Nigeria? So it is not the policy. And by the time they are sending this into the so-called individual, like they did in the power sector reform, there is nothing putting it in that bill that if you feel to add to what is like you are what you are acquiring, we take it from you. Okay. None of them is doing that.
And it's a deliberate.
Of course.
They didn't.
That's why I said they know what they are doing. They don't want to bring in professional into it. If professional, yes, put this clause there. If you are inheriting this megawatt from me, within 2 or 3 days, ensure that you added value to it.
It's been more than 15 years since Dangote acquired the old steel road.
You need to drive there and see what is there.
More than 15 years, maybe almost 20 years.
Yes.
And so the clause you are talking of, this is where it becomes very, very imperative. But is it because they don't know it? They know it. It is question of interest. He puts that clause in, and he knows that because they have exchanged hands.
You are the one saying that.
Yes, I mean, we know it as ordinary people. We know they exchange hands.
Well, honestly, it is bad. You would have expected them before they said Dangote in Osogb.
Yes.
That time. The slow limit. That is the company we met. They were the forefront industry in Osogb when you came in.
So, I know it as an insider from here in Osogb.
Yes.
It was President Obasanjo who didn't allow it.
Yes.
The people around here wanted the Odua to step in.
If they step in, they are better than this.
Yes, but the president had some good reason. He said it's a government organization. It will go the same way. I'm not supporting that position, but then he had it. You see, he said so, or I'm told he said so.
You are correct, sir. You are correct.
Because we also do local politics here and there.
We'll be wondering that
some of us were the ones who suggested that they should sell it to Baba SB Daudu. He's late now. He would testify if he were alive. Some of us suggested.
Do you know that, sir? That by the time they started the power reform of 2012, the union, National Union of Electricity, and the SSA, they brought in some terminal paper that said part of this thing to them. It was never. They were supposed to have to give certain percentage as I'm talking and nothing. Even the so-called disco that we are discussing, government is supposed to have about 40% interest in it. But who is doing that? Nobody. Nobody. It's really unfortunate in this country, my brother.
Well, someday God will come down and bail us out.
Where will God come from?
Okay, but before God comes to bail us out,
we have to do it ourselves.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to say.
We have to do it ourselves. It's not by telling people to. No. This is what is on the ground. But how can we be producing 4,000 megawatts in 1988 and we are still do the same generation in 2024? Are we moving?
We are not moving. We are going back. It is
really
retrogression. You were producing 4,000
megawatts
in the 80s.
Yes.
And 40 years later,
you are still where we are.
Sometimes you go below it.
Yes.
Engineer Oladele, I'd like to thank you for your insights.
Thank you for this opportunity.
We hope and pray that our country will get it right. It is taking us too long to get it right. But we must not be disappointed nor frustrated. We will get there someday. It will come. But all of us have a role to play. We must, when we see something, we must do something.
Yes, let's see something.
That has been our show for today on Pertinent Questions. I have been speaking with former General Manager, Mission Company of Nigeria, Osogb region, Engineer NIYI OLADELE. It's been a wonderful time. So much discussed, so much revelations, so much understanding also. I am Adetoyese SHITTU-ALAMU. I'd like to thank you for being there, watching it. Next week, hopefully, we will be able to bring another personality. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you another time.